Hi everyone, today we're reading lesson number 4, Mary McLeod Bethune, a dedicated teacher. While I'm reading, there are going to be a lot of vocab words we're going to be listening for. The first one is the word privilege. A privilege means an honor or advantage that one person might have that sets her apart in one way or another. The next vocab word is scholarship. Scholarship is money or an opportunity given to a student to study for little or no financial cost. The last vocab word is society. That is a community of people who live together and share many of the same life experiences. While I'm reading the story today, I want you guys to listen carefully to learn how Mary McLeod Bethune improved opportunities specifically for African American girls. Mary Jane McLeod was born a long time ago, in 1875, in South Carolina on her family's small farm. Mary's parents had 17 children. Mary was the 15th child. Mary was the only member of her family to go to school and receive an education. Her brothers and sisters were needed to work on the family farm. However, it wasn't an easy thing for Mary to go to school. She walked about 5 miles to school every day, and then she walked home again. So 5 miles is probably like the distance from our school, probably to, probably to, imagine having to walk that far to and then back from school every single day. How do you think she felt having to walk that distance? Mary didn't mind. Going to school was a privilege that few African American children had, especially girls. Mary was an excellent student. She learned easily and quickly. Mary would race home each day to teach her brothers and sisters the things she had learned at school. Mary also taught her neighbors' children. Mary's family was so proud of her. When Mary was 13 years old, she received a scholarship to study at a school for African American girls. Remember, a scholarship is when someone receives basically like a free pass, or they're given money or an opportunity to study at a school for no cost, so their parents didn't have to pay any money in order for her to go. The school was called Secosha Seminary in North Carolina. Mary's mother was so proud of her. She made her a special dress so Mary would look nice when she went to her new school. Mary was sad to leave her family. They were sad to see her go, but they knew that Mary was going to do wonderful things in her life. After attending this school, Mary received another scholarship, this time to a school in Chicago. After graduating, Mary returned to South Carolina to become a teacher at the school that she had once gone to. Mary was determined to educate young African American children, and no one was going to stop her. After several years of being a teacher, Mary decided to start a school on her own. She especially wanted to teach African American girls, as many still did not see education. Mary had heard of a town in Florida called Daytona Beach. A new railroad was being built there, and many of the workers were African American men. The workers' families lived in campuses. Their children did not go to school, and the men earned just enough money to feed their families. Mary saw this as a great opportunity, and she came up with a plan. With just $1.50 in her pocket, Mary moved to Daytona Beach, Florida, and opened her own school for African American girls. A kind woman offered Mary a place to live. A friend helped her find an empty house that later became the new school. Old, broken furniture was fixed. Boxes and packing crates from local stores became the students' desks and chairs, and in the fall of 1904, Mary opened her own school. In the beginning, there were only 6 students, including Mary's own son. Gradually, more and more students came. Each girl paid 50 cents a week for tuition. Mary taught them cooking and sewing, as well as reading, writing, and math. There were never enough money, so Mary baked pies and cookies to sell. Not everyone liked what Mary was doing, though. One night, while Mary was at school, the street lights went out. When Mary looked out on the street, she saw a group of people gathered. They intended to scare Mary and hoped that she would close her school and leave town. Mary would not be bullied. As the group of people stood in a pool of light, Mary and the frightened girls watched and sang songs. Before long, the people scattered. So the people ran away. They were trying to intimidate her or scare her, and she didn't let them scare her. She just sang songs with her kids, and then eventually they left. 3 years later, Mary moved her school to a new location, a 32-acre farm with 14 buildings. The 400 students at the school grew their own food. Mary was very proud of what she achieved. So think about it. She started in a building that the students used boxes and broken crates and broken furniture to sit on, and there were only 6 kids at the beginning. And now she's done so much that she has a farm that has 14 buildings on it that she can teach kids in. So she's achieved a lot. Later, Mary's school joined a school of African American boys and eventually became Bethune-Cookman University. Mary's school started with 5 young African American girls and her son. It eventually became a 4-year college with over 1,000 students, and it still exists today. Mary became the president of that school. However, Mary wasn't quite finished. There was more work to be done. Mary opened up her own hospital. Many African Americans received treatment at Mary's hospital. In addition to promoting education and healthcare, Mary joined forces with various groups of people who were campaigning for the rights of women to vote. As you already have discovered, in the early 1900s, women could not vote. So remember learning about Susan B. Anthony, and Mary McLeod Bethune was mentioned in her story previously. They worked together so that women could get the right to vote. During this time, African American men did have the right to vote, but they weren't always able to. In order to vote, men had to be able to read and write. Mary held classes at night so that African American men who had not had the opportunity to go to school could learn these skills and therefore be able to vote. She believed all people had the right to an education and to be able to read books. Mary opened a library that provided free reading material to anyone who wanted it. Mary was doing amazing things. Once again, people tried to scare Mary away. They did not like what she was doing. Mary ignored them and continued her work. Mary always believes in the power of an education. The whole world opened up to me when I learned to read, she once wrote. Mary's efforts had not gone unnoticed. 3 United States presidents asked Mary for advice. President Coolidge invited her to attend his Child Welfare Conference. President Hoover asked her to head up the White House Conference on Child Health, and President Roosevelt named her as the Special Advisor on Minority Affairs. Mary also became a founder and the first president of the National Council of Negro Women. For many years, Mary worked closely with Eleanor Roosevelt. Mary became the director of the Division of Negro Affairs and of the National Youth Administration. She was the first African American woman to become the head of a federal agency or organization. Mary wanted all African Americans to become fully involved in American society. Mary received many honors for her work. She received the Spingarn Medal for her efforts in educating African Americans. This medal is given to each year by the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, or the NAACP, to an African American. So all her hard work throughout her years, even being bullied is starting to pay off. As you have already heard, Mary was part of the group of advisors known as a Black Cabinet. Mary herself asked President Roosevelt to choose more talented African Americans for important jobs. Today, we have an African American president. Without people like Mary, it's possible that this might have never happened. So when this book was written, Barack Obama was our president at the time. So she's referring to Barack Obama and how without the help of her and people like her kind of promoting African American rights, that probably is something that never might have happened. This is a statue of Mary in Lincoln Park. Mary McLeod Bethune died on May 18, 1955. On July 10, 1974, 99 years to the day after Mary's birth, a statue of Mary was placed in Lincoln Park in Washington, D.C. Mary was the first woman and the first African American to be honored in this way. A portrait or picture of Mary hangs in the state capitol of South Carolina, a great honor for a woman who fought against discrimination and worked tirelessly for young African Americans.